Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Nick Davenport, aka Mr. Mental Muscle. Now we're back again. I'm talking about Snowfall. Now, if you've been following along, it's in the 6th and final season. Now, I've actually just wrapped up the series, and it was crazy how it ended. I won't get into that. No spoilers here. But the point I want to go over is one of my previous videos I talked about is Franklin Saint, the main character of Snowfall, a psychopath. Now, I went through each of the different DSM-5 diagnosis, symptoms of antisocial personality disorder, the actual term when you talk about someone being a psychopath or sociopath, and it really didn't lean towards him having it. Now, obviously, this is not a clinical diagnosis, just a fun way to look at psychology as it's applied to an actual TV show and make sense of things. Now, what I got to thinking was, what if we looked at a different disorder? Now, I think this one may make more sense, but you guys let me know in the comments below. But let's look at narcissistic personality disorder. Now, you're thinking, where does this come in? Now, if you recall, if you saw my previous video, I talked about the dark triad, which consists of psychopathy, Machiavellianism, and narcissism. Now, I have numerous videos talking about narcissism as a trait, not as a disorder. So let's look at the disorder and see if Franklin Saint is a narcissist based on clinical definitions. Now, I'm gonna read some of the criteria from the DSM-5 so we can make sense of this and tie it into the show and his character. And let's see, out of the criteria, where does he fall? Now, the DSM looks at NPD or narcissistic personality disorder as having a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, meaning your behaviors are bigger than what they should be in life, having a constant need for admiration, a lack of empathy, beginning by at least early adulthood, and present in a variety of contexts. Now, you need to meet at least 5 of the following 9 criteria. So just off of that general definition, it sounds like he may fit this criteria because he does have a grandiose sense of self. He wants power. He wants to be the boss, or he is the boss in his eyes. He wants money. He'll do whatever it takes to get what he wants, regardless of others' needs and others' well-being. So now let's look at each criteria and see where he falls. Now, the first one, having a grandiose sense of self-importance. That's a check right there, because early on in the game, he wanted to learn the ropes. Some of the other characters like Ivy or his Uncle Jerome, they were kind of his mentors getting into the game. Now, as he grew more powerful, got more money, became a boss himself, he kind of didn't really need them. He looked over them as less than him. So you can see that he had a big air of self-importance, thinking that he was the man. So I would definitely say he checks off as number 1, having a grandiose sense of self-importance. Now, the next one, a preoccupation with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. So he doesn't fit all of those, but he does fit some of them. So that kind of plays off to the first one, self-importance. Now, throughout the season, we found out more about Franklin's path to get to become a kingpin in the drug game. And he actually was very intelligent. He went to college, was top of his class, but unfortunately, due to money reasons and other situations, he couldn't continue his studies. So we know he's very smart, but there's kind of this thing that he needs to be the one in charge. Now, he belittles some of his even closest friends and family to say that they're not as smart as him or they wouldn't be nothing without him. So this shows he already has this idea of himself to a very high degree, but you can see throughout the series that he wants to become the guy who runs things. He constantly hints at how he can bring the world or his community up by being like kind of like a Robin Hood. That's funny how these stories always go that direction of give to the poor, stealing from the rich. There's no victims here, when in actuality, obviously it's the drug game. There's going to be someone on the other end of the drugs that he's selling. So there's always a victim somewhere, and we're going to get more into that. So I definitely say he would check off on this. Now, the next one, a belief that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people or institutions. So we see this throughout the series that as he got higher in the game, he started dressing different, he started talking different, he got into the real estate, so that's a more legit business. So how he was moving, everyone else was like, hey, we're rich, we got money, we're still in the projects. But he was like, no, I don't want to be here. He wants to associate. He saw like Teddy, the CIA agent, that I'm on the same level as you. He didn't just see him as someone working together, saw him as a colleague and equal. So you can see that as he grew in status, he wanted more and more to fit in to another world that wasn't where he came from. And he seemed obsessed that he had to prove that that's not who he was, that he was greater than them and he wasn't like everyone else. Because when you look at it, they all came from the same neighborhood. They grew up on similar circumstances with maybe not a father or father in and out of their life, mother working crazy hours to make ends meet. So they weren't really that different in how they were raised, but Franklin seemed to see himself not of that. So this is a classic case. Now, a need for excessive admiration. So you see how all these tie together? They all come back to, am I bigger and better than I really am? Do people need to pay attention to me? Now, the need for excessive admiration. This is not just wanting to be liked. Most people, I think, want to be liked. And as we always talk about with any kind of clinical diagnosis, this is above the norm. Now, it has to affect day-to-day living. It has to affect how people go through life. It's not just saying, I want people to like me. I hope they like me. Most people are going to do that to some degree. But it comes to the point where they have this manipulative thing about them where they have to be seen in the light where people think they're high and powerful, whether it's being the boss or saying that they do good deeds or they take care of people. Because most people, when they do good deeds, this is altruism. This is for the own sake of doing. It's not because you want an outcome, a reward, some extrinsic motivation. It's because you know it's the right thing and you feel good doing it. And I'm not saying Franklin didn't do that. Maybe there was a point, but it always seemed to tie into how could people look at him? How would they take him seriously? Was he a person that they can trust, admire? So I'm going to give him a check there. So we're already at 4. So he needs 5 out of 9. So if you can make a case that he doesn't have some of those 4, let me know in the comments. But so far, I think he's at 4 right now. Now, a sense of self-entitlement. So I think that this entitlement at first wasn't really there because remember, once again, he came from the bottom. He didn't have a lot growing up. He had to make a way. He worked honest living. So I don't think this one truly fits to the full criteria. Yes, as he got more powerful, he felt that things are supposed to go his way. This is how it's supposed to be. He mentioned how the white man's always trying to keep him down and we're entitled to get our just due. I work too hard for my money, etc. But I don't think he fully checks off because this is not constant. Because remember, once again, this has to be constant and consistent. So I'm not going to say he has that one. So we're still 4. Now, the next one, interpersonally exploitive behavior. This is a definite check. So he's at 5 right now. So given this criteria, he fits the mold based off what I see. But interpersonally exploitive behavior, what this basically means is him taking advantage and using others to get to his goals. He did it with Leon. He did it with his love interest. He did it with his neighbors. He even did it with his own mother, as you see in later seasons. So he would stop at nothing to put people in harm's way if it meant he could get what he needed, because he's that full of himself. Because being a narcissist is not just saying that you're better. It's the fact that your judgment will automatically be default mode me. It won't consider anyone else because you're the one who needs it. You need to be upheld to a higher regard. You need to get your goals. You need to get what benefits you and no one else matters. So that's definitely a check. Now, the next one, a lack of empathy. So obviously this goes without saying if I just mentioned that he'll put anyone in harm's way. At first, like I mentioned in my previous video about being a psychopath, he was kind of squeamish to the whole violence thing. It's not that he didn't want it to happen. He kind of didn't care, but he just didn't want to see it. But you can slowly and surely, it didn't matter. And I think this can make a case for him that he is a person who lacks empathy because as he got more powerful, as he got more money, more status, you could see that it didn't matter who he hurt. He did it without even thinking. It would even get to the point where he would kill certain people's close relatives. I won't say exactly who, because he knew it would get the rise out of the other people to get the result he wanted. So he didn't really care. So he definitely had a lack of empathy. The next one, envy of others or belief that others are envious of him. Definitely a check. So envious of others, in a sense, I guess early on in the show, he wanted to be the high rollers. He wanted to be the leader, the kingpin. So definitely envy there. But as he got higher in his status, he definitely showed that he thought people were jealous or envious of him. He constantly was looking at his friends, Leon, everyone else around him like, oh, you want to be me? I run this. This is what I do. So it's basically saying that he thinks people are jealous of his status, that he's the smart one. Because he, like I said, he always looked at everyone else in the light of that I'm better than you, even though they came from the same place because he had different, I guess, aspirations. But did he really want more? Was he really that different? I don't know. Now, the last one, a demonstration of arrogant and haughty behaviors or attitude. That I just pretty much mentioned that. He definitely was a person who thought he was the ish. So we can just put that up there. So he was very arrogant. Even early on, he had some arrogance. So it wasn't necessarily that it developed more as he got more powerful. He had it there because in early episodes, even before he started getting his hands dirty, he made it clear, like, I'll run this. I'm Saint. I'm Saint. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just the fact that he was proud or confident, because I talk about confidence in the healthy sense on some of my podcasts, but this is not it. This is him thinking that I'm the man. I'm better than you. No one can do what I do. You need to bow down to me. Because even later on, towards the end of the series, you can see him saying, I made y'all. You wouldn't even be here without me or my money. So he definitely demonstrates that. So he checks off about 8 out of the 9 symptoms. Like, I want to reiterate, though, this is not a diagnosis. Even though he's a fictional character, that's not my job. I'm an applied psychologist. I have a background in clinical. I didn't go to full degree in it, but I started my doctorate in clinical psychology. So that's why it's always interesting to me to look at these. So from the applied side, I'm like, hey, let's do it with the show. So from these symptoms, what do you think? Does he have narcissistic personality disorder? Is he the person that's described through these symptoms? Because remember, we got to look at the scheme of things from early adulthood onward. And as he developed, he showed these in a consistent manner. They have to be interspersed in your daily life. It's not like bouts, because when you look at subclinical traits, we all exemplify some of these to a very low degree. It's a spectrum, but it has to be persistent and consistent. We look about severity, duration. So this happens over a long duration and it's constant. It means that if my daily behavior is showcased, it's showing this. This is our default mode. It's not us getting riled up to get to the point. It's where we start up and it just goes from there. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think Franklin has narcissistic personality disorder based on the criteria I just listed? Let me know as usual in the comments below. And as always, guys, get your mind right.